Hey everybody, here I'm back in the kitchen. Hope y'all are doing good. Hey Kim Branch. Hey Brian, what's going on, man? Gosh, I hadn't seen you in so long. Caroline Frable, how are you doing? Elizabeth Cruz, always good to see you. Miss seeing you. Hey Jeremy Beach. It's fun to watch y'all come in. I wish I could do this on Sunday morning and speak to you as you come in. Jeannie Glover, are you still living out by the lake? How are you doing? Oh yay, a heart. Somebody hearted me. That makes me happy. All right. Well, as soon as y'all get ready, you can start asking questions. I don't really rehearse anything or prep anything for this. I just, I miss y'all, and it's just a chance for us to try and stay connected. I really want to keep y'all encouraged as much as I can. I worry about you, I don't get to see you. I'm like a mother hen worrying if y'all are still there, and I worry about you getting weary. What does the Apostle Paul tell us? Hey Josh Martin, hey Luke, Nadine, Andrea Pierce, Boyd. What does the Apostle Paul say? He says, don't get weary. Don't grow weary in well-doing. And I worry about y'all. I think all the stuff is getting old, It's getting old to have to log in on a Sunday morning and find church online. And I know that's not fun. And so I just wanted you to know I think about you. So what are y'all doing? What are some things y'all are doing to keep from getting weary? I'm putting myself on a schedule and trying to get rest at night, and go to bed at a decent hour so I can get up at a decent hour, and trying to get my, I'm so used to busyness being what dominates my schedule that not having that busyness makes it harder for me. So, hey, John and Derek, and Nancy Cooper, and Sarah Moffitt. Bianca was looking at your cookies this afternoon. I'm just so jealous. Alan Lowry. Gosh, man, how long has it been since I've seen you, Alan Lowry? It's fun to see you Delta State people coming back. David Jones, out in California. I don't see any questions yet, guys. Y'all got any for me? You want me to just keep riffing and talking? Am I missing them somewhere? Hey, Josh Bowman, give me a question. You're always got a dozen. Nadine says she has stopped doing 1,000-piece puzzles. You need to try a mystery puzzle, an escape room puzzle, Nadine. Those are even harder. We need to trade. We need to have a puzzle trade where we can just drop them off in each other's driveways without seeing each other. How would that be? Let's see, am I missing any comments? Still don't see any. I was counting on y'all to have something for me. Hey, Matt Tessalink. Thank you for tuning in. Nancy Cooper, how are you doing? Sarah Moffitt commented in River Oaks, Tulsa. I just wonder what y'all are thinking about. Jesus tells us to turn the other cheek, but he also told his disciples to buy swords. He also said that those who live by the sword die by the sword. When are we supposed to defend ourselves? And when should we not resist evil with evil? That's a great question. That's really one where you have to constantly be asking yourself, am I out defending myself out of pride, out of personal gain, out of personal fear? Or am I serving a greater good, serving a community? I think Jesus was very concerned with, in that particular moment, protecting the you got to remember, the entirety of the Christian church was 11 people. And he needed them to be able to break out. And so that was, I think that's what was going on there. I think that was a very specific thing. Allie Shepard. Well, is Lily watching? You get Lily in front and you tell her that what made me want to be a preacher. Part of it is something that I've always wanted to do. I started doing it when I was 4 years old. I remember preaching to my stuffed animals when I was 4, as funny as that may sound. Or I would be walking home from the bus stop in days and be thinking about things that I would say if I were a preacher. There's always been a little bit of a desire. But when I got into college, I got very depressed and very lonely. And I never thought I could do enough to make God like me. I thought God was always disappointed with me. And so I kept trying to do more and more to be good enough. I felt like I had this guilt that I had to witness to everybody I knew. I spent one summer as a camp counselor, and then I didn't think that was holy enough, and so I spent the next summer working in the inner city, working just 60 to 80-hour weeks, doing as much as I could. And if you want to burn out, that's a good place to do it, because you'll never do enough there. The need is just too great. And I just really came to the end of myself and was very depressed and sad. And a campus minister by the name of Hal Farnsworth took me aside and began to talk to me about how I was trying to complete a work that Jesus had already completed. And how if I could go back in time and look up at Jesus on the cross and say, why are you doing this? He would have said, I'm doing it to save you. And that work is absolutely completed. And there was nothing that I could do to add to it. There's nothing I could do to take away from it. And that made me feel so comfortable, and it gave me assurance of salvation for the very first time in my life. And so I never wanted to do anything else. After that, I was so happy and just wanted to give other people that feeling that I was experiencing at that point. And so that's all I've ever done since. I've never wanted to be anything but a pastor. And by God's grace, I've never been anything but, I've never done anything else since then. So I'm very, very lucky in that way. Very lucky in that way. Thank you for your question. Josh Bowman's asking a question about children laughing. Gosh, can I just say this? There is nothing I miss more than having y'all in church laughing at my jokes. I never feel more lonely during the week when y'all are not laughing along with me. I think laughter is a gift from the Lord, Josh, and a lot of times we don't laugh because we're just so worried all the time. Our worries weigh us down, and the mark of true godly fellowship is it makes us laugh, I feel like. And so I don't know how you practice it other than being around people that help you to not take yourself so seriously and teach you to laugh at yourself a little bit. Any kind of jokes that's, the golden rule is a good way to apply. Anything that is hurtful and meant to be hurtful, meant to put a group of people down and elevate yourself, that's inappropriate. You shouldn't laugh at that. But anytime, the more laughing we can do, the better in general. I'll definitely say that. And as far as the best kind of humor is always self-deprecating humor. So it's always best to laugh at yourself. Nancy, you need to start hitting those laughter icons so I know that you're laughing at home. How's that? Seems like I missed a question here. Harris Bond asked, what are you the most hopeful for and for others to strive after in the midst of this quarantine life and Corona time? That's a good way to say it, Harris. Hope you're doing well down in Louisiana. Miss you, and I know this quarantine is not making church planning very easy, but I'm proud of you for being in Monroe. I still want you to get to know my friends Nadine and Doug Houston, who love Monroe, grew up in that area, Ruston, and still have friends down there. But you know what I'm hopeful for is that we'll learn how to be quiet and restful. I preached a sermon. My New Year's Day sermon this year was called "Resolve to Keep a Quiet Heart," and it was about being simple. It was about just not worrying about things that I can't change. It was on, I think, Psalm 131. I've calmed and quieted my soul within me like a weaned child on his mother's lap is my soul within me. I do not concern myself with things that are too great for me. And I really hope we'll learn that. I hope we'll learn. I don't want to call these good days. They're terrible days, obviously. Thousands of people dying, hundreds of thousands of people being sick. Interesting, isn't it, to go for a drive and I see a dad with 4 kids on bikes all together and think, I never saw that before. Or I'll see kids playing out in the yard with their mom and think, never saw that before. And so it's good for me. I think it's good for us to have this time to just stop and be together. I tell you what, though, I don't want to lie. It's been hard, and I can't stand the thought of this going on forever. So, anyway, I'm glad. Hey, Meyer Blaine, hope you're still here. Good. Oh, that's right. Sorry, Nadine is from Bastrop and went to school in Ruston. I want to get that right. Bianca asked me, what do I think the Lord is doing through this coronavirus? I think it's interesting. I don't know. We won't know for sure until the end of the end of time when we're raised up and He wipes our tears away and explains to us what He was doing. But I do think He's at work, and I think He is historically. There's always been this connection between technology and sicknesses, plagues, and growth of the church, purity of the church. It was a purifying thing in the scarlet fever epidemic and in the Southern church and around in the last century, 2 centuries ago now, right after the Civil War. It purified the church. It was a purifying part of the church right at the very beginning. The reaching out, the disciples reaching out to the sick in Rome was one of the ways that the church really got started. Same was true of the Black Plague, and there's also been this connection between Christians being the ones who are willing to serve the sick, and that happening in big scale at the same time that there is a technology boom. And what I mean by that is, you'll look historically. When the church first started, the Apostle Paul was the beneficiary of a crazy jump in technology. Now, you wouldn't think about it, but the technology in that day was roads. He was one of the first missionaries to ever have the opportunity to walk on roads. He was the first. Roads in Rome were a new thing. And so he was able to go to every city. And something that would have never happened before. The Pax Romana was something that made peace in every nation. So he was able to travel from nation to nation preaching the gospel. In a similar way, in the Great Reformation, we had the technological advancement of the printing press. So Calvin and Luther were able to get the gospel out fully to millions. At the same time, there was this desire for revolution. People were looking for something new, and the Reformation doctrines and the idea of coming out from under Roman rule is a lot like the ideas that people were having about coming out from under kings, and those things fit together. And so they had the political and the technological and the spiritual all coming together, just beautiful nexus and really leaping forward. And I think that's something that we're seeing now. I don't know where it's going to be. We've had the pleasure of looking at people who listen to our sermons on the internet and seeing people from Jordan, seeing people from Dresden, Tennessee, who I never get to talk to, have the opportunity finally to hear me preach. That's a joyful thing. I'm not trying to compare myself there to Martin Luther or John Calvin or the Apostle Paul. I don't think that, but on a smaller level, there's millions of little me's out there who are able to get the gospel out to people who would have never gotten it before. So I'm excited about that. I think we're going to see, and I think the coronavirus is going to make people start feeling mortal again. It's going to make them want want to think about eternity again. And so I think those things are going to work together. I think we're going to see a lot of people look back at the summer or the spring of 2020 as the time when they were born again and took the gospel seriously. Hey, Yvonne Knight and Jake Lynn, thanks for joining us, buddy. Jake, you've been a blessing to me. It means a lot to me to have you there every Sunday playing those drums. You just play with such joy. It's infectious. You really make me a better person. Adrian Potts, let's see, what do you say? How can we pray effectively through this whole thing? What should we be praying for apart from the obvious? Trying to hope for God's glory to be made fuller and more real through all this. Not sure what that looks like. I know we will find out one day. I agree with you, Adrian. I think I've already said some of those things, but just one more thing. I'm really praying for a new level of humility. Whenever I'm praying for a mystery, like the coronavirus is a huge mystery. And so I don't want to get out ahead of God and claim things that I don't know. And so I just pray that he would accomplish his purpose. But I also do pray that there would be a humility. I'm not praying for anybody to get sick. I'm not praying for anybody, but I do want people to feel mortal again, to feel the frailty of life, to feel the necessity of to be thankful for medicine and be thankful for their lives. And I think we're going to see that. And that's one of the things I'm praying for. But mainly I'm praying for conversions and a purification of the church. And I think that's all going to happen. Judy Palmetry, it's good to hear from you. Good to see you. Barry Knoll up in Pennsylvania, man. I don't even know what you're doing. You need to drop me an email or something. Let me catch up with you. Montre Brooks, man, I'm so thankful you're in Tulsa. Thank you for coming. I'm glad you're here, brother. Glad you're here. Thank you for the encouraging note, Ryan Anderson. I'm glad you're in Nashville. You tell all my friends there hello for me, okay? I love them. I know you're missing them too now, though, aren't you? So I just tell them I said hello. Especially Nancy and Jack Bailey. Next time you see them, you just tell them, you look at them and you go, Jack Bailey, you went to Ricky Jones's mom's funeral, and he's never going to get over that. Because I won't. I will not. Well, Bianca, you got any more questions? This has only been 15 minutes. I need longer. How much longer do I think we're going to be doing this? Guys, I don't want to be discouraging, but I do think it's going to be a long time.
Nothing's going to be back to normal.
I don't know if we're ever going to get back to what it was used to be, but I think, as far as like going out in public, going to stores and things before, that'll be happening soon. I think in the next 6 weeks or so, I think businesses will be able to open up. But as far as gathering together in large crowds and singing or cheering, I think it's going to be a long time. I'm really sad to say that, but I think it's going to be a long time. So we're trying to get used to here. Kim Branch, I don't get asked this question very much. What is my favorite Bible verse? I don't do numbers. I think it's in 2 Timothy. Paul, Bianca, where is it? What would you say is my favorite Bible verse? What do I quote the most?
John 17.
John 17.
John 10.
And John 10. The Good Shepherd and Jesus' prayer that we would be with him where he is and like him where he is. Those are big ones. Of course, my old standby is when Paul says, this is a faithful saying worthy of all acceptance, that Jesus Christ died to save sinners and of whom I am the chief. So I guess those are my favorites. All right, Sarah Faber, how do you help those who are falling into a rut of enjoying aloneness or isolation? Well, I'm not too worried about that, honestly. I'm just,
Live a simple life.
I think it's okay. I mean, honestly, sometimes most of the time, life forces us out into public, right? And we have to look at the people who love being in public, and they're like, you're just feeding it. And those of us who are not like that, you just look at them and go, man, you sure are lucky. And so, right now, there are certain people like me who are kind of hating this isolation and loneliness. And there are other people who feel like they are just Brer Rabbit in the briar patch, and they're okay with it. And I just want you to know this. I want you to hear me say this. It's okay to be happy. I think sometimes Christians are like, oh no, so-and-so's too happy. Hey, you know what? If they're okay with being, if they're happy, if they're okay with being introverts and being by themselves, why do you want to interrupt that? That's okay. Now, if someone's getting depressed, or if someone is blocking other people out of their life in what seems to be a harmful way, in a way that allows them to go off and be by themselves and sin or whatever, sure, that's something to watch out for. But, I'm just not too worried about, I would give anything to be able to get into a routine right now. So I don't know if it'd be a rut of isolation, but a routine of isolation would be good for me. We're only 3 weeks in. So, if it goes on for a year or so and you haven't talked to another human, that might be a problem. But our forefathers spent a lot more time in isolation than we do. And I'm not too sure it's a problem yet. I'm not too sure it's a problem yet. What could evangelism look like during social questioning, Ken Hutto? Social distancing. Well, I think it's going to look a lot like it usually does. It'll start out with checking on people. I think a huge thing you can do, a huge ministry you can be doing, is just when the Lord brings someone to your mind, reach out and ask them a question. Ask them how they're doing. You will never bother anybody with a text message. That is a huge blessing. I think it's always okay to reach out to somebody and say, hey, the Lord just put you on my heart right now, and I want to see how you are doing. So I want to encourage you to do that. And I ask people how they're getting along, how they're dealing with the isolation. Are they okay? Or are they lonely? Are they sad? Tammy Redden, I love you too. Are they lonely? Would they like to chat? Would they like to visit? What are they reading? Are they bored enough to read a book yet? Would they like to watch a video, or would you recommend a podcast? I don't think it looks too different. I do think it's going to be intentional. Evangelism is always intentional, but in some ways we can be sneakier about it right now than could be at any other time in history, right? I mean, I'm excited that so many people are plugging in on Facebook. It's such a non-threatening way for someone to get in and hear the gospel and deal with it. So I think that's what evangelism looks like, and just being willing to say, hey, I would have invited you to my church for Easter, but this time we're going to have to do it on video. So this is the address. I hope you like it. Just being willing to send those kind of text messages and Facebook messages and invitations with links. That's what it's going to have to look like for a while, I think. So good question, Abby. Hope you're doing well. Miss you. All right. So have I missed anybody else's question here? Technology tends to stress out some people. How do you suggest we help those folks? Well, they don't have to be using technology. I think it's, you always kind of have to deal with people where they are. And if someone's stressed out by having a video call, then don't make them have a video call. That's okay. Be willing to show them how to use it, but you don't have to force them to do it your way. Instead, just let's be kind to each other. And I think, I tried so hard to get my mom on Facebook. I'll never forget this. I tried so hard because I just wanted to be able to talk to her every day and share pictures with her and do all the things that you can do on Facebook. And I set her up an account, and she never had the internet in her house. And so I showed her how to get onto it at the library. And I don't think she ever got on that account a single time, And I'd ask her about it. And she's like, I don't want everybody looking at me wondering what she's doing in the library. I just thought, I think I'm just going to let you be you. She taught me a lot, and that was one of those lessons. It was okay to let people be them. And if they don't want to, Joe James's comment is always, the pain of not changing has to become greater than the pain of change. And if the pain of not changing isn't bothering them so much that they want to change yet, you're not going to force them to do it. Make it easy for them when you can. Make it easy for them when you can. And then that's all right. Just love them how they want to be loved. Bianca's dad did learn how to FaceTime, which is pretty neat. And we got him a picture frame that we can email pictures to, which is pretty cool. Things like that you can make easy for them is the best. So, All right. I think that's about all the questions. Anybody else? I'll wait about 30 more seconds. Ken Hutto, so good to see you, man. It's just so fun just to see y'all's names. I don't know if you can tell, I'm so much more energized now than I was 30 minutes ago. Just seeing all y'all's names and calling all your faces to mine is chicken soup for my soul. More than that, it's a real blessing. Thank you. Thank you. What do you want to know? How do you resist vanity when it comes to exercise? Well, if you have a body like this, vanity is just never a problem, Josh. I never had to worry about too much about vanity. I would worry about dying. What makes me exercise is when my doctor told me I was what did she tell me? I was a diabetic time bomb ready to go off. So that's, I don't know. Josh, I don't think vanity's your problem, brother. Hey, Kendall, what's going on, buddy? You doing okay? Miss you too. Give me a good hard theological question. Give me something to talk about. Rachel Brownlee from Louisville, Mississippi. Not Louisville. Louisville, Mississippi is here. So, Elizabeth Cruz asks a great question. What book would you recommend to a young adult non-believer who has no understanding of Christianity? Well, at the risk of sounding self-aggrandizing, I get no royalties from this book anymore, but I did write my book for that very reason, Too Good to Be True. That I did the best I could to explain Christianity in that book. A good friend of mine named Sammy Rhodes has written a new book called Broken and Beloved. Excuse me. And I've been reading that. I think that's a great book for a non-believer to really explain the basic gospel to them. His other book, This Is Awkward, is a great book because it's just about encountering Jesus in the awkward stages of life. And I think that's a great idea. Those are the books. Bianca, you got a good book for a new Christian or somebody who's not a Christian? Tim Keller has a book called The Blessing of Self-Forgetfulness that we've used a lot. That's really good. Bianca's giving me the I got more of a nod than my book did. I don't know. Those are the ones that stand out to me. Ross Turner would also be good. He reads a lot more books than I do. The problem with asking me that question is I'm always tempted to go back to those books I read in 1987 and say, this is the book for a new Christian. But Reason for God is a tough one, I think. I thought it's just kind of a hard read. I'm not sure that a non-Christian, someone who's got no categories, I'm not sure that's where I would start. But maybe that's just me. I just thought it was a little bit tough. C.S. Lewis, for people who have a lot of good questions. I don't know. Mere Christianity is still just genius. Mm-hmm. It's hard to imagine anybody doing better than that. I don't know. Gave you a question. All right, Kendall, I see what your question is. What do I think about people having church at the Admiral Twin when the city said not to? Now, why would it be a bad idea to meet at the Admiral Twin? I don't know. I think you need to stay 6 feet apart. I think we need to listen because it's just scary. Guys, if you don't know me, this is my deal. I don't follow rules well. I disobey rules just because they're rules. I skipped chapel semester in seminary because it was a rule that I had to go. And so I don't do rules well, but these rules about staying apart are important. They are important. There was a choir that had choir practice in Washington State. 20 of their members ended up in the hospital. Over 10 of them died. Singing with each other, it's a real easy way to spread this particular germ. It is so incredibly contagious. And I know that some of you just watch a lot of particular news sources that tell you that this disease is not something special. And they've quit saying that now, but they did for 2 months. Said it was just all media hype. It is not hype. This is very dangerous. And you are saving lives by staying home. So I encourage you to stay home. I really do, with all my heart. So, follow that rule. That rule is there for a good reason, and I think it should be obeyed. And so I'm was sympathetic with the idea of meeting at the Admiral Twin, because if everybody stayed in their own car, it seemed like that would keep everybody apart. I actually had that idea today. So, guess it wasn't a good idea. I won't do it. Now I know. So, yeah, it's very, very real to me too, Kendall, and incredibly dangerous. And I want people to, I want people to obey the rules, because if we can quash this thing, maybe we can get back together soon. I really hope so. All right. Do I have suggestions to stay in touch or connect with your community groups? Yeah, I think we're going to try to get word out to our community group leaders this week. There's a lot of free stuff. We have Google G Suite that you can use. I personally hate conference calls. I hate video calls, but I think we're going to have to start using them more. And I encourage each of you, just every time you pick up your phone, and let's be honest, we're picking those phones up a lot. I spent 6 hours and 5 minutes on my phone on average. That's sad. 6 hours of screen time a day. That's terrible. But I want to challenge you to do this, and I hope you'll challenge me to do it. Every time you pick up your phone, before you open up that game or Facebook or whatever, let's just text each other. Let's just use it to actually connect with each other. Hey, how you doing? Thinking about you. The more we can do of that, the better. So, Nikki, that's my suggestion for that, is just try to use your technology to connect with people instead of using it to isolate yourself from people. That's me, right? I open up my phone at restaurants, back when we used to go to these things called restaurants. I would use my phone so I wouldn't have to look at anybody. But now I want to use it to connect with people. So I encourage you to do that. What are your thoughts on forced family time? I love to be with my kids, and family time doesn't happen unless I schedule it. I'm sorry, I can't see them. I got to push this. Sometimes I feel guilty making them hang out with the family. That's okay. You just make them do it. If I think it's a great idea, Rachel. I think those would be good memories. It's okay to schedule it and make it happen. It's not okay. This is always a problem for me. I would get mad at them, and then my anger would ruin everything. I would cause it to rain indoors because of my stupid anger. So as long as you're able to do it, making them do it, calling them in to read them a story or to play a game, or whatever it is you do for your family time is always a good idea. Those would be great memories. But if you're able to do it without anger, and I know you, I think you probably are able to do it without anger. Oh, Kendall says, do I think this could become the new normal? God, I hope not. I hope not with all my heart. All my heart. Okay, so the city did approve the Admiral Twin. Great. I'm going to let y'all talk that out amongst yourselves. Stick with Facebook Live. It's not worth the risk. There you go, Emily Harbarger. You and me. You don't have my number. It's 918-949-8898. Oh, Zoomity group. I'm proud of you, Adrian Potts. Thank you for doing that. That's an awesome idea. Love it. Zoom works well for other groups. OJT is doing Zoom too. That's good to know. Very, very glad to hear about that. Like I said, too, we can set G Suite up for anybody who wants to use that. Just Google Meets. It's the exact same as Zoom. I don't think there's any reason to do one other than the other. So, all right. 918-949-8898. I'm expecting a text from all of you in the next 10 minutes. Love you guys. It's been 30 minutes. That's too long. So, I miss you guys. It's great to see you. Hope you're doing well. Love you. Have a good week. I will see you Wednesday at 12:15 for another devotional. I have a feeling that my dog Gladys is going to make an appearance Wednesday at 12:15. If that won't get you back here, I can't imagine what it was. So, looks like Carolyn Royal's community group has been meeting over Zoom. Y'all keep this conversation going. Caroline is the person to talk to for creative ideas. She is the master at getting people together. So I am not. This is what I do. Talking, monologuing is my gift. I have the spiritual gift of monologuing. She has the spiritual gift of getting people together. So, Doug, you know I love you dearly. Yes, Kendall, that is correct. All right. This is getting goofy. I'm heading out. Love y'all. Bye-bye.